Hey guys, Tonatiuh here, back with another video. This time, it's a full raid guide for the Light Dragon, Light Tonatiuh. This raid is the last raid you unlock, and there are 3 difficulties in total. Normal and Hard mode unlocks 1 week after Bone Cialado unlocks, and Nightmare mode unlocks 4 weeks later. This video will go through the mechanics of the raid and my recommended strategies to clear them comfortably. If you enjoyed this video and or find it useful, do hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to get notified about future videos like these. I also stream on Twitch regularly, so follow to catch me live and ask any questions you might have about the game. Now without further ado, let's get right into the video. The written version of this guide is on Maxroll, link in the description, so do check it out and you can refer to it in the future if there are any changes made to the builds. I will update the guides very quickly to provide you guys up-to-date information, and I also welcome any suggestions to improve the builds or readability of it, so feel free to DM me on Discord. This raid is more mechanically intensive than it is a DPS check. Before we start, I want to stress that you should mark these areas before starting the fight. The party leader can use markers to mark areas on the map. Mark the arena in the middle with marker 1, mark this spot on the outer arena with marker 2, mark this spot in the outer arena with marker 3 as well, and mark this spot near the middle of the arena with marker 4. Marker 1, 2, and 3 will come into play later with certain mechanics, and marker 4 is where the tank should stand to start the fight. The first mechanic to look out for is the Tank Buster mechanic. Tonatiuh targets the current aggroed player with a red circle and an arrow pointing downwards above their head. After 5 seconds, it deals massive damage to the targeted player. Use damage mitigation skills or iframe to survive the attack. This attack lowers the target's aggro and inflicts a long vulnerable debuff on them. Another tank has to then take over the aggro to keep the team safe. On Nightmare difficulty, this attack can pull in nearby players, so stay away from the team. Next one is a team stack mechanic. This one is relatively simple. It targets 3 random players and red circles with arrows pointing inwards appear on them. All players should try to gather together to soak the damage. I'm looking at you, ranged players. Turn off that auto button. Now comes the more complicated mechanics. Void Dual Pact is a very important mechanic that can determine the run if not executed properly. 2 orange circles appear on 2 random players. After 5 seconds, each player takes damage and spawns a Spacetime crystal on their current position. Before it spawns, one player has to dash to marker 2 on the outer ring of the arena. The other player stays with the majority of the team in the middle of the arena. This is the proper setup to always go for whenever this mechanic happens. Shortly after the crystals spawn, Tonatiuh curls up and prepares to jump into the air. It then jumps, slams down, and knocks everyone up into the air and kills them instantly. To prevent getting knocked up, activate both crystals to open a Spacetime Field and transform the crystal into a Spacetime Rift. Make sure you're standing inside the Spacetime Field. In Hard and Nightmare difficulty, the player who activated the crystal is marked with a big red circle that drops a poison puddle after 8 seconds that damages and slows players. Place these puddles on marker 3 to avoid covering the arena with poison puddles, as these puddles remain throughout the fight. After the knockup, Tonatiuh will attack a few times before starting the Purifying Light mechanic. Tonatiuh summons a one-hit kill Purifying Light wall that expands from the middle or contracts from the outside at a fixed speed. This pattern alternates. On Normal and Hard difficulty, the first wall contracts from the outside and the second one expands from the middle. Players need to use the Spacetime Rifts to teleport between each other to avoid the Purifying Light wall. On Nightmare difficulty, the first wall expands from the middle and the second one contracts from the outside. However, after the end of Spacetime mechanic, the Purifying Light walls will occur back to back. The first wall expands from the middle, and then immediately after the first wall finishes expanding, another wall starts contracting from the outside. Additionally, Spacetime Collapse will be designated onto the aggroed player after the first teleport. This forces the player to use iframe skills to survive the second wall. Players will need to use the Spacetime Rifts to teleport twice. However, teleporting now places a small red circle around you, dealing damage to you after a short while. Stacking these up with multiple players is deadly, so you have to move out of the way after teleporting before attempting to use it again to avoid the second wall. After each wall, Tonatiuh summons mobs to damage you. Use gathering abilities to group them up and kill them. Let's move on to the end of Spacetime mechanic. This occurs after 2 Purifying Light wall patterns. There are 2 islands on the left and right side of the arena. The left side houses the Radiant Crystal and the right side houses the Dark Crystal. Tonatiuh moves to the middle of the arena, faces the starting spawn position, and 3 orange arrows point outwards from the middle. After 8 seconds, Tonatiuh roars and stops time, freezing players on the spot. Split the raid party into 2 teams. Party 1 and 3 goes to the Radiant Crystal, Party 2 and 4 goes to the Dark Crystal. Before getting time stopped, position yourself right at the edge of the circular pattern on the ground in front of the islands and face outward. However, do not touch the invisible boundary wall. If you are touching the wall, you might get knocked straight up instead of towards the islands. While in the air, you can steer your character to land on the island. If you're still on the main arena after the slam, you take massive damage over time. After landing on the island, start damaging the crystals. Breaking them interrupts Tonatiuh's charge. However, you need to break them within seconds of each other or they will regenerate. On hard and nightmare difficulty, both crystals have shields. Breaking these shields inflict a matching elemental vulnerable debuff to the players on the island and spawns a Spacetime Rift. These crystals will start to pulse and damage all surrounding players with its respective elemental damage. Use the Spacetime Rift to teleport to the other island to avoid taking more damage than necessary. Both teams have to coordinate with each other to avoid breaking one crystal too fast. After breaking them, jump down onto the main arena and you can freely damage Tonatiuh. The last important mechanic is Radiant Seed. This only occurs after end of spacetime. On normal and hard difficulty, it happens after the first Spacetime Field mechanic. On nightmare difficulty, it happens after the second one. 6 seeds appear on the arena, with huge red circles originating from each of them. The spawn positions are always set. 5 seeds on the outer ring of the arena, and 1 seed in the middle as shown here. After 12 seconds, the seeds detonate, dealing lethal damage to anyone in the circles. One player has to pick up the Radiant Seed closest to the Spacetime Rift placed on marker 2. That player cannot use Phantom Dash while holding the seed. Use the rift to teleport to the middle of the arena and place down the seed. Use the middle rift to teleport back to the outer ring of the arena where it is safe. That is all for the raid. It is relatively simple to do, but hard to coordinate. This raid might be the hardest raid for Global to clear, but hopefully, this guide and the written guide on Maxroll helps all players to be able to clear the raid comfortably. I will be showing a full run of Tonatiuh on Nightmare mode with comms. This is a full public run recruited from Roll Chat, but the comms are in Chinese. See you next time, bye bye!
左上角，反正就是北边排不好一点，不要排南边了，有可能有些人不会下到，最后被毒死。豆芽不会的话，就教你挂机点位，近战就中心圆圈挂机，到边缘的话就最龙的最外面挂机吧，最边缘挂机。放时间，近战中间远程边缘的。 豆芽可能点到豆芽的，我已经叫人挂机点位了，你不要炸他了。中间几个分摊，外面去个御分奶，管一下水晶，听我这讲。不要着急，水晶几个下，水晶点掉，水晶点一下，左上角排毒，其他人全部去外面传送本机了，速度。 外面传送门，反应快点！传送，替仇人下了，我拉稳位置。这波怎么传送都能死这么多？不要着急放绿毛，先把小怪清掉。替仇人下了，没有听到吗？你不要把龙队轮群了，要不然绿毛救起来就压起身了。放时间，还是近战中间远程边缘的。 外面去个来管一下，中间下了中间几个，中间水晶，水晶点掉，重叠排毒，读重叠排，排完就回来中间准备传送，替仇人继续下掉，我要拉龙队，龙要保持不动，死刑就给到我，你就去中间准备传送，你们自己传送啊，我看不到，你们自己传送，不要传死。 所以连传送都不会，传完就龙尾结了，到龙尾再打，全部去龙尾。怎么传送还能死的？龙尾结，我说水晶结都说了3、4遍了都没有结，还能传送死？13光23了，先龙尾分摊了，分摊完了去对应到贴边，赶紧去对应到贴边，不要墨迹。 自动关了，对应到贴边，龙会自己拍上去的贴边。T 的话就继续下手盾，后面才能快速打完。破完盾就记得交换一下。光这边破盾有点慢，那边就停止，不要打了。来光这边帮忙交换一下。按那边还打吧，就不要控制，不要控制，不用留，不用手了，不用留手，全力打，下刀了。无限拍好了，下刀死不了，下刀了继续龙尾去了，到龙尾再打。T 就把仇人下了，珍惜快速打完。龙尾结合分摊了，龙尾结合分摊完放水晶，近战就放中间，就放龙尾。边缘水晶放龙的左翼最边缘吧，我后面把龙拉那里打完。边缘水晶放龙的左翼最边，能看到吗？发我水晶。有挂自重的，还有近战去放边缘水晶。水晶听我指点，不要着急。中间结合打，外面去个蓝发水晶。就毒圈不要排水晶旁边，水晶点了，水晶点了，毒圈只要不是水晶旁边都可以。外面传送门局，外面传送门局，要传送2次的。我拉一下位置，把龙拉好一点。你们要传送2次传好，我看不了，你们传送。龙的位置我先拉住。传送完不要动，不要来我死形上，不用分散，去龙尾狙打就行了。龙位置是不变的，你们就龙尾狙灌伤害，龙尾狙要分摊。分摊完2个水晶放龙尾就行了。等分摊完2个水晶就放龙尾，不用动。能听到就不要动，不用放。放了就去个人管一下。轮回种子不要去搬了。水晶结合了，水晶点掉，2个都点掉。毒的话就重力拍，不要去搬种子。T 仇人下了，准备来我位置狙打就行了。来龙泉吧，在龙泉这里，这谁把种子狙走？龙尾 ，T 仇人下掉。哎呀，这是抢仇人，你要炸团的。你们不用动，我去龙尾拉面下。狸猫没有分，你们有狸猫就用，有狙怪的用个狙怪的，有龙泉分摊就行了。这T不下仇恨，搞得人龙对人行了。这水晶放好，看着放。外面水晶机要打起。这还好，我找了玉盒，面向拉的一波，我都说下仇恨不下仇恨，水晶点的。躺赢都不会吧？你逛街都行，逛街都不会，在这抢仇恨。